Hello and welcome back. We are continuing our excursions through Ralidar. When the last time we got to play, we were uh, manning a garrison with some of the Phalanx troops to fend off an assault force of undead who had made their way through the barrier. They were led by some banshees and some sort of lich that tried to steal some people's souls. Was seemingly unsuccessful. That very powerful necromancer we run into several times along the way showed up to try to absorb some of that unleashed like viscous black goo that was dripping out of the out of the lich as it was dying before it turned into mist and started to evaporate. And after cursing, he then left back to try to find another. Said something about something else happening, and not a second one. After kind of that encounter happened, people went back to kind of rest up and make preparations in case that wasn't the only force to make it through the barrier. In light of that, did you guys send like some of the scout units out to keep eyes out ahead, or what kind of preparations in general do you think you guys made to that effect?
That would make sense to have somebody keep an eye out, just to make sure we're not surprised again. And they had one of those magic books that we were trying to get in contact with the wizard and the other Phalanx people to see what had happened on their end, right?
That's right. We had as soon as we made it back, we had sent out a message detailing what had happened here, and then hours had gone by, and there had been no response. We actually made it through the night, and kind of mid morning, kind of where we are starting off, and we'd still not heard any response, at least as of yet.
Was there anyone else we could send a message to who might know what was going on?
Not through other means. Like, so the only other connections that you had was there was another sheet that you had so that you can communicate about your mother with a small squad, with the squads that went the other direction.
If we still have that sheet, Izzy would use it just to check in and let them know that she's okay. You know, her mom was kind of non-responsive, but still want to let her know that she's okay.
The the one thing that we had known for sure that we had encountered for them was they had slipped by that undead horde and were crossing in the borders the last we left, and that was the night before, like right as we were going to bed, the night in the magical mansion. And then you woke up, and then poof, you were here, and then you fought, and then all this happened, and now it turns out that they have made it to Rymar, the first city within the actual Rodin borders.
Okay, good.
The health of your mother is still like, still physically doesn't seem to be injured. She's not exactly catatonic anymore, but there's definitely like no willingness to talk or communicate, just like coasting by as it is right now. All the movements and things seem automatic.
Yeah, Izzy's basically hoping that if they can make it to Rodin City, then they can see somebody at a temple there and see if they can help her mom through all the things that she's going through right now. That's totally out of Izzy's wheelhouse anyway.
Okay, so after we get through the night, and we kind of get to mid morning, and when the scouts, one of the units of scouts return, and they specifically report that the boundary itself, they kind of went all the way up and down and searched um, as best they could, and they could notice no weaknesses in the boundary here.
So where would the undead have come through then?
They're at a loss, at least as to that. So whether that was some kind of, maybe it was temporarily something happened and now it's back, or maybe they don't know. I mean, the barrier has never been down, even in part, ever, that they recall, or that they've ever heard about in their histories. So there's no real precedent to know what could have happened. But as far as they could tell, the barrier, at least here, is intact.
How far up and down did they go? Have they talked to any of the other garrisons?
I saw no sign of any living or dead along the way. It was early morning when the battle started. So it was. I mean, they've been gone since. I mean, the battle didn't last all that long in terms of things. No more than a couple of hours, and then clean up and then send everybody out after they get a moment's respite. So they've been gone 18 hours or 20 hours or something since then. And they went straight to the barrier, and one went west and one went east, and the other scouts are out there trolling still. But when they come back to report, yeah, neither squad found anything.
And there's been no word from the other garrisons about any kind of force coming at them. Everybody else has been fairly quiet.
Not since the initial when some people split up, went to this garrison, and then the archwizard went to the other. Said something about the mercenaries attacking that other garrison. But since then, there's been no radio silence, so to speak.
From all across the barrier?
At least that you have access to.
Right, okay.
We have a very unfortunate spider web of communication, as the pages only really talk to one other book or one other. So you could get multiple pages that are torn out that all still talk to the original book, but it still only talks to that one book. So,
right.
So if you had a page and the nearby garrison had a page, both of them communicate to the archwizard, but neither of the two garrisons communicate to each other.
Do they have any kind of messenger birds or anything like that to talk to the other garrisons?
Yes, they do. They do have carrier pigeons and ravens, both.
Is that something we can send out just to check on down the line, make sure everybody else is okay, or if they need reinforcement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you could employ that.
Beyond that, until we get more information, I suppose Izzy would be kind of at a loss as to the next move, rather than continuing on our quest.
Everyone at the garrison still seems to be treating you all as though you're in charge. The lieutenant is seeing to things as far as normal operations. He doesn't seem to be so sketchy at that. Um, but ultimately, everyone is deferring, including the lieutenant, to your group about anything. So, when the scouts come in to give their report, we've been up for 30 hours now. Seem quite exhausted, but are kind of wondering, should we go back out right now? Is that what we do?
Oh, not if they're exhausted. They should rest. There must be somebody else can take a shift, maybe.
Aren't there 2 scout units, or have both
Yeah,
of them been out?
yeah.
The-
One went west, one went east, right?
Okay.
Yeah, and they basically went east and west, and then went back and met, and then one of them came and one of them stayed out. They may camp and do small patrols from within their unit, like rotate out who's out of the unit, do rotations. But the unit that came back has not. It's just been traveling.
Yeah, they won't be any good to anybody if they're exhausted. So, yeah. So I guess we'll let them rest up and then see what comes back with the birds and the messages. What do you guys think?
Yep.
Sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still, while respecting Steen's input about their hierarchy, I'm still wanting to kind of have that sergeant we talked about last time just be the lieutenant's sort of number one guy. Just have someone who can be a little more assertive if the lieutenant falters.
Yeah, we kind of identified that sergeant guy who's, still absolutely to the T follows the chain of command, but has shown to be competent.
Somewhat of a acting field promotion just until the ranks are replenished properly. Again, I'm trying to be somewhat political about it. Just listening from Steen's advice.
Well, we don't have the authority to promote anybody, so the lieutenant is still in charge.
And I never said he wasn't.
You can seek advice and instructions.
While we're here, I think I would like to see if there's anybody trained in like herbalism or potion making sort of thing. I have a lot of bottles that could use refilling.
Like potion bottles or other bottles?
Well, I'll take what I can get.
Probably not much in the way of supplies for the purposes of creating more liquor than they get delivered already. Just because of the terrain they're in, it's not like they have their own garden kind of thing going, or so they'd have to convert food to liquor, and that part seems like that seems like a no-go. But they do have some stockpiles of actual some of that other stuff, it being an actual military installation, they're going to have medical kits, and there's probably a stockpile of actual, healing potions and stuff as well, or at least the stuff to make them.
Yeah, if there's stuff to make them, and somebody who knows how to do that, can I, like, hang out with them? Just kind of see what he's doing and what he's putting in it.
Yeah. You can kind of spend your time while we're just waiting for something to happen and or information to come. Spend your kind of downtime just trying to acquire a new skill.
Yeah.
Okay. Reasonable. It looks like we lost a car. Okay.
Oh.
You got double DC'd.
Also, just, would it be reasonable to send somebody out to Zarka for resupply? We're pretty near there, right?
Yeah. That wouldn't
Or-
be. Yeah, that'd be totally possible. Now it's gonna. There is some travel distance, right? So it's not like somebody can get back right away, but across
Oh,
the
yeah,
span
I know.
of a few days, a squad of people could go get some supplies.
Yeah, I was just thinking, like, while it seems quiet and before anything else bad happens, it might be a good idea just to send somebody out, and then maybe they can get back before they're actually needed.
Would you be sending? So there's enough civilians and in the like that probably perform that regular function. Would the intent be to send some soldiers with them as well, or would you send the citizens on their own?
Probably send a couple of soldiers with them, not like a lot, but just in case they come across some roving zombies like we encountered in the desert, they would have somebody who can actually instruct them on, go over that hill and, like, hide or whatever. I don't know. I'm not anticipating that it would be an army that could take on a force of zombies, but just more like a smaller unit that can move quickly. If that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because Izzy's probably, at the very least, taking them out of their alcohol supply a little bit.
Just a smidge.
Just a little.
Steen, I don't know if we ever actually talked about this, but what rank did you actually have? You were a scout. Were you an officer? Were you on officer track, or were you grunt?
Typical scout. Go here, do this.
So you're like the same rank as some of the guys that we were bossing around in that last war battle?
I'd say most likely. Probably sergeant rank ish. Mid-level enlisted.
That's what I thought. I thought you were enlisted rather than more like leadership,
I think-
like officer leadership. But
I think in the realm of realistic ranks in real militaries, he'd be like a warrant officer, which is between enlisted and officers. They don't answer to any like sergeants, but they also don't really listen to other officers that are like lieutenants and stuff.
hopefully, the car comes back soon. I would say.
Hey,
Yeah,
Speak of
lost
the devil.
connection. Hey, Diablo.
So that's like a sergeant major or a.
No.
I was gonna say, what did I miss? Is he still sober?
No, probably
Never.
very unlikely. Very unlikely. No,
She's
just.
just
Sorry, go
she's just kind of keeping it at a low buzz right now.
So yeah, that they had. They're gonna send some of the civilians on a supply run to Zarka nearby. Still kind of waiting to hear back. Trying to get an idea what all we're gonna kind of do in general. Um, but now that you're back, though, we're just waiting for word, which does arrive via magical book sometime in the mid-afternoon. Okay, so the archwizard reports that the actual garrison. Okay, so let's go to the actual Tenarian map. So originally we saw the mercenaries. We didn't see, but we knew that there were reports of the mercenaries that were headed northwest of Zarka. And it turns out that those mercenaries hit this garrison. This garrison actually is the absolute closest to the barrier of all the garrisons. There's a little crook right there as the barrier bends, and it's closer than all the others. And that particular garrison, so as the archwizard's kind of writing out, his response is that the mercenaries attacked the garrison. The barrier seemed weakened for a time to let undead through as well. So just like the assault on your garrison, they were hit by a similar wave of undead as well as the mercenaries. A lot of the magic users had coalesced there with the archwizard, and so they were able to eventually deal with the threat, but not before the lodestone inside the garrison was destroyed. That lodestone. The lodestone is one of the anchors that keeps the barrier in place. It strengthens the barrier in its nearest area. It's why there's so many garrisons along the barriers, not just as a defensible structure, but they actually form a physical support of the barrier itself. The lodestone was destroyed. The barrier in that area is gone. He tells of a giant cloud of darkness that swarmed them as they were trying to fend off all of the assailants, and that was a power that magical perception, even true sight, could not penetrate. It wasn't until after they'd cleared the battlefield that they had heard that the lodestone had actually itself been destroyed under this cloak of darkness. And since true sight couldn't penetrate this magical darkness, nor could any power of light that they tried to conjure, they have a sinking suspicion that something far more powerful than mere mortal powers was involved to lend aid, tipping the scale of balance to the side of evil. He says that you should, in the short term, then expect a visit from someone you may not expect to be so far from his home.
Oh, great. Paler's going to come down.
Yeah, that seems a little bit heavier than a kraken.
Palor's riding a chariot led by Kraken.
Oh. Oh.
Shit got real.
There have been those on our side that have been limited in their ability to assist due to interrupting this balance. But since the balance is tipped, they are now a piece at play on this game board.
Let the Kraken begin.
That's bad though, right? Like, can it be untipped? Because I thought the whole point of this was that if this tiff between gods draws too much attention from the higher ups, that the whole place was going to get nuked again.
That is the ultimate concern. And one of the objectives that you were prophesized to prevent. If the seesawing of the scales of balance tip too far or have too much power on either side, they will draw too much attention. So that's like the immediate bit. Then kind of the addendum is that it looks like the barrier throughout the rest of the borders seems to still be intact. It is only near that particular garrison that there's any immediate concern. So the Archwizard and Commander Gregan are ordering all reinforcements aside from bare bones minimum at each garrison in case some other assault takes place, are to report there. So they're gonna the kind of details about troops that are gonna come from here to there, as well as other garrisons. So you're gonna have to send one of your warriors and one of your knights and one of your scouts, and but you can keep basically one warrior, one scout, one knight, and your evokers, and everybody else has to go. And so they are stripping every garrison down to bare bones. And as a part of that, they're taking a lot of the commanders. And so one of the things that he's saying is that he's going to field promote Steen to captain in charge of this garrison.
Holy shit, Steen! Now we can do what we wanted, and you don't have to worry about your things. Captain.
Yay.
Captain Steen.
So with the field promotion, he is charged with the defense of this garrison and its overall support, its hierarchy of any officers and/or things needed to make sure it continues to run, whether he is here or not. He does expect that you have more important things that you'll need to attend to directly, but this is your garrison.
And pay raise, right? You were getting paid before, weren't you?
No. Phalanx provides.
Yeah, basically. They're less so paid and more so provided for.
Yes. Being a little tongue-in-cheek.
Mm-hmm.
Same reward, more responsibility.
Seems about right.
Military life.
No. Military life, you get paid more.
You get paid and the ability to boss others around.
Mm-hmm.
And to also do with the garrison as you wish. From a game mechanics, this is... from a game mechanics standpoint, aside from the actual roleplay part aside, this is your stronghold. Or at least a stronghold.
Hey, awesome.
We're not storing years of booze here.
Well, where else am I going to keep it?
It's not booze. This is explosive defense equipment.
It seemed like you had years worth of Molotovs there.
We do now.
I mean, if you give me a good weekend, it won't last that long.
Or a very bad weekend.
Yeah.
Well, depending on your point of view.
Would you have any view left?
I might have multiple views. Seeing double.
Well, with news of sorry, my voice
Unfortunate
is off.
promotion.
Yeah, well, yeah, with news of Steen's promotion, I all the other suggestions and stuff I was making, I sort of take a somewhat step back and give him a little bit of reverence, at least in front of all the troops and everything.
Oh yeah, sarcastic reverence.
No, nothing sarcastic.
Oh. Well, thank you.
I'm legit trying to help you out here.
Oh.
Cart knows a little bit about these things, even though Kragos does things a little differently.
Yeah. You got my promotion through an email.
So it is important to note that along the barrier, with the lodestone, it does power out, but they have so many of these so that they overlap a good bit. So there is only a small portion of the barrier that would actually be extremely affected, where it just would not exist at all, right directly in front of that particular garrison, and it'd be a little bit weaker than normal, but still mostly effective for a good bit, and then everything else should be fine.
Our garrison or the one?
No, the one where the mercs hit.
Okay.
So it seems that what caused the initial breach was some massive power of human and other creature suffering that was absorbed and unleashed at that particular point, almost like a soul grenade that caused the barrier to waver.
Yeah, they were sucking a lot of souls up the street, or a lot of blood magic going on.
And then, so at the very end, they did said you should expect a visit from someone really soon.
This was someone good? Someone.
It only alluded to someone who's now in play due to the tips on the scale of balance. That was all that the Archwizard had said in his original note or whatever. You can attempt to, write him back with questions or any of that stuff.
Well, any of you have any additional questions?
Izzy's just gonna kind of look up into the air and just be like, "Is it you? Is he talking about you? I know you're watching."
Everyone's like, she's talking to this guy. Great.
No, the Magister. He said that he was gonna watch us.
It was like Santa Claus in that way.
Just start
Yeah.
waving.
Like we were talking about Palo for a second. I was like, there's probably a lot of gods up there. Just
Izzy
looking
doesn't.
down.
No, Izzy doesn't know anything about Palor.
Not all about that life.
If Palo was the name of Booze, she'd know.
Palo
So, yeah.
Light. Get it?
As a game mechanics standpoint, kind of just to explain, I really like a lot of oh goodness,
Gracious?
my brain's taking it down. The stronghold. So the stronghold rules. I really like a lot of those ideas. So you have a bare bones allotment on this particular stronghold, and through your efforts and journey and your persuasion of people to join your cause along we've kind of hit the point now where we've kind of been in the dark, and now we're hitting the point where your group is now part of a big tale that is actually becoming public knowledge. And so through your persuasions and abilities and what you do to help other people and connections you make, you will very likely have people that want to join you or your cause or whatever, and then they all this garrison is your, at least for now, your immediate stronghold to house and train and do with those people as you need, especially as there are other large-scale warfare type events that may have to happen before this is all over.
I suggest to Captain Steen here, if we, like some of the villages on the road here we came to, if we could send both sort of a peacekeeping group and a recruitment drive, whoever we can afford to send, to see if they need any help, if because they've been through some shit too. Can help rebuild it all, go back for some more supplies, and again also recruitment, because we could use some numbers.
That sounds like a task for the lieutenant.
Yeah, I do concur. Getting good at this thing.
Walk over to the lieutenant, wrap my arm around him. Well, I have a job for you.
Job.
You get to leave the garrison and travel.
To you want me to go out with the where those things came from?
Nope. You get to go and take a tour of the 10 local villages and gather supplies and assistance.
You see his eyes kind of almost light up, like I'm being rewarded.
But then you have to come back.
Yes.
This is going to be it's a 2-week tour. Gather volunteer soldiers. You're allowed to offer pay. What would fair pay be in like this economy for like a week's worth of work? Like, how much is a gold coin here?
100 silver.
Yeah. But in like if I was shoveling, if I was digging holes for a living, how much would I make in a week?
Maybe 4 gold a week. Like it's like the gold is like
Okay,
$100.
that's fair.
You want to put it like that?
Okay.
For the common folk.
You're authorized to offer 5 gold per week of work. I want you to gather workers and build defenses. We need trenches and barricades to reinforce the fort. I say get as many workers as we can, and then we'll need food, non-perishables, smoked meats, potatoes, so we can sustain a siege if we need be. And maybe my Molotov-loving friend over here will help design some form of flaming arrow so you can light them on fire easily with alcohol.
Did we lose our healers too? You said some more people were sent off.
One of them died.
You lost a healer?
We lost a full unit of priests.
Yeah, we lost a priest unit and a knight unit.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I would recommend to Captain Steen that they also take a few healers down with them to help with the people.
That's a good idea.
Split up your squad into just a couple of individuals instead of a full unit.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. check a
Yeah.
couple healers with the lieutenant to take care of the people if need be.
Let them know that this is they're not just helping us. This is a symbiotic relationship. We help each other.
Good ideas. And then I turn to the scouts and address them. You'll rest up for the night. Tomorrow, you will go and replace the other scout unit and tell them to come back. You will rotate.
I say that one of those scout units is in order to go.
Oh,
One
okay.
squad worth of units needs to head to the other has been ordered to go to the other garrison.
Okay,
So
okay.
I mean, that'll be something you'll get to. You can pick and choose, but send them out to relieve them and bring them back to rest, and then send them to the garrison, or
Yeah, that's what I would do. Yeah. Okay. So we have what, 2 units of warriors and 2 units of knights,
of which
a healer unit and 1 scout unit, right?
yeah, you'll have to send. So you'll have one of each unit. You'll have an evoker,
Okay,
one scout, 1 priest, 1 warrior, 1 knight after everybody has been split and the extras sent where they're going. You'll have 1 of each unit.
Okay.
But even the evokers get to stay,
Woohoo!
which may be a little surprised by that, but they still want to make sure it doesn't do any good to protect that if you let other lodestones fall through some other means.
Mm-hmm.
Lumos just call them bananas.
He's training. That's what Lumo
Fucking-
does.
Mm-hmm.
Bugs Bunny on fucking something.
Running on walls and
Yeah.
doing push-ups. 1 finger push-ups.
Yeah. He's doing it with air. All right. His lung capacity is so high.
I tap Steen on the shoulder.
I look around and then look down.
Hey, can the lieutenant take a letter for me when he goes to the other towns?
I mean, he could.
Are you okay with that?
That's fine.
Okay.
And then address the NCOs, the sergeants in fort, and give them their orders that they're in charge of manning the walls, make sure the men are fit and ready, manage their guard shift and rotation.
Alright, so we kind of make preparations across the board to try to resupply, to reinforce,
And
just to make preparations in general as it deals with.
and I draw out how I want the defenses kind of set up, fortify the front of the garrison.
We spend about an hour, just coming up with a set of orders and trying to get everybody the right idea of what tasks to begin doing. You're still talking with one of your last groups when a silvery white portal opens up in the courtyard of the garrison.
Izzy pulls out her daggers just in case.
Immediately yell, men at the ready. portals are bad.
Not all portals. Hashtag not all portals.
You don't know, so whatever comes out, comes out, alright? Don't know how good a portal is until you know what it does.
A brief moment transpires, and then through it, you get just like a wave of energy, light, and just almost like you've drink a couple of energy drinks. Everybody, you just feel like your heart's starting to race, not just from the nervousness, but just from the feel of energy as it comes around. Out steps a man in full plate. That we have seen before.
Izzy points a dagger and was like, I knew it was you, and then she sheaves them both.
And then, well, Stan would immediately kind of take a knee.
It's been a long time since I've been beyond the borders of my province. Kind of looks around. Can't say, at least from this view, that I'm missing much. Still nice to leave nonetheless. Just wish, honestly, that I still was not able to.
Well, it was either you or the Kraken, so I'm glad it was you.
Yeah, you know.
I suppose some would find that a favorable trade. You see almost like a streak of lightning kind of come across his eyes. But others perhaps will not. In the time to come.
So I guess you've seen everything that's happened so far, I'm assuming?
You have done well. My eyes have ever been present, even if I could not lend aid. It seems as though the powers that be are even worse than we had originally assumed. But the first few foes in your chain of destiny, you've done well with that. Now
What?
I must show you your next step.
Ah.
I know you rushed to lend aid to Lumos people. Lumo, have you seen this before? And you can see him kind of move his gauntleted hand out in front of him, and then the area around you just begins to shift and change as like the image of what's there and the feeling, just the temperature, everything just drastically changes across everything around you as your perception fades away for just a moment. Coming back, you get blasted by a wave of extreme heat. Here we are in Tenaria, where it's already quite hot and dry, but by whatever intensity, you just get blasted by a wave. It seems even hotter and even drier, as though you just kind of opened up the door of an oven. The sands shift, become looser, and you see, peaked dunes across a vast landscape. of nothing but sand. You like the ground underneath you is like it starts to slide away and move as you're like traveling extremely fast over this terrain into what you see is an area where as you're traveling very quickly across this, you see very loose sand, but you don't ever see anything that's even hard packed or anything. But in this one small little area, just between, hidden away by kind of like a wall of dunes, there's a spot with a bunch of sandstone that kind of covers the floor of like a little basin. And in that sandstone, it's still mostly heaped with sand, except for some crags and crevasses that kind of line with dark pits beneath. Have you seen this valley before?
Where are we?
I come from where you hail, at least the second time.
Lumo's gonna go and try and touch the sandstone.
It has a very tactile feel, like so it it interacts, and as you touch it, it feels like you're actually touching sandstone.
Okay.
Some of the, as you kind of travel very quickly, there were a couple of distinctive areas that at least triggered your memory some as to places in the Badlands that you have seen before. Roll just a wisdom check.
Whatever, same thing.
This particular valley that he's talking about is not something that you do actually see.
Okay, so just Lumo sees it.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry, let me redo. Everybody is shifted along this entire major illusion, effectively, that's happening here. We're all taking place. He's asking Lumo specifically if he has seen it before.
If I've been here before, I don't recognize it.
Deep within this crevasse is where you were found. Found the first time. I was not sure of what memories you held from that time.
Just flashes, really. The landscape was never in focus.
They found you here, and in here lies the answer. At least, the next answer.
What's the question?
My best guess is simply what to do next. I still cannot enter past the barrier. I'm limited to that. I can see some, but everything inside is cloudy and shifts and wavers. But this spot is like a beacon that even the blind could see.
Was I able to tell where it was when we were like zooming into it?
kind of so like from directionality, it'd be hard to say much. Just in general, because when you got blasted by that wave and your perception kind of went black for a moment, and then everybody kind of all this became visible. It wasn't like you were here and then you just zoomed into somewhere else. It was just like you were in the middle of the desert, like in the middle of the Badlands somewhere out in the desert, and then it started to focus in on this spot, zooming over some landscape. You could try, because you and Carr traversed, a good bit of it, and so is Steen. You could try, go ahead and do a roll of just a straight wisdom check to see if that's, if it's something you might recognize, knowing that the probability is very low.
So lowest scores best, right?
So going through it all, some of the dunes. I mean, some of those seem familiar, but it's so hard to tell because, even what you traveled across, it's very easy to think you're going in circles because so many things look just like so many other things. There's not really, like landscape or terrain markings that are just so very solid, and a lot of it shifts as the winds and storms do. I mean, there are some recognizable areas, but you didn't seem to recognize any of what you traveled over.
Okay, so Izzy's just going to ask the Magister if he has any idea how to get there.
The easy answer is to go ask my people where they found me.
I think Lumo is right in this particular endeavor. I can see this glowing beacon, but I don't know where it's at, and I can't really see much around it. I tried to look in different places, and it always fails. No magic seems to penetrate. I can't even seem to find any of Lumo's people, for that matter.
Could you before? My understanding was they were very hard to find.
We try to be.
No. Most of the Badlands has remained hidden. Lumo's people are definitely among those things hidden. It wasn't until you made it to the garrison that I could even confirm who or what you were. The garrison the first time, like when you went to the barrier the first time.
I like to imagine he said that also.
If you aren't able to find them, then that means they still have their belongings with them. So that means they're doing at least okay.
Their belongings? Something they have that's preventing this?
From what I've been told from my tribe, is that we all fashioned these amulets. I'm going to pull mine out from underneath my shirt so that we could not be found by those who would do evil. Apparently, it also prevents us from being found by those who wish to do us good, or at least claim to.
You see, he's going to wave his gauntleted hand over out in front of him. I guess that makes some bit of sense. Did not expect such a thing on such a scale. Especially those that scrounge on so much to survive, managed to acquire something of such great wealth in mass.
It's acquired over hundreds of years for the small tribe of us. That's how we've managed. Besides our resourcefulness, I would attribute this to our survival almost entirely.
It must be so.
It's one thing to go into a camp and steal from bandits and sneak around demons. It's a entirely different matter if they catch a glimpse of you and you have to run. Being hit, allowing yourself to be hidden is most important.
He just kind of nods in approval. Whether you find your people that can lead you there, or whether you happen across this place, be warned. If you have any memory of your former life, it is not that place. It is far, far worse. Just going to kind of turn and look at everybody. Nalar and his team have already arrived at the lodestone, trying to channel power to repair it. I go soon to lend aid. Is there anything? Anything I can do before I leave?
I have at least one question that's not immediately related to this. I know you said before that you couldn't see into the manor. I pull out the ring that belonged to Ileana. And I tell him I don't know if she made it to to Rodrin, but her daughter was being held captive somewhere, and I have no idea where.
He kind of holds out his hand, palm up, the gauntleted hand, and just kind of holds it out in front of you.
I drop the ring into it.
You see, like, as his hand begins to brighten for just a moment, and the ring itself kind of glows with a bit of light for just a moment. And then he hands it back. The owner of this ring has entered a tunnel of darkness, but there is light at the end of that tunnel. Light she is approaching.
Izzy just has like a bit of relief wash over her.
The young one. The young one is not nearby. I would say not even on this continent. The young one is alive. Somewhere far, far to the northwest.
Izzy's gonna kind of glance at Carr and not say it out loud, but just kind of mouth Blackhaven.
The ring is closely tied to its previous owner, and only its residuals allow me to even have any knowledge of those connected to her. I do not know, I cannot scry to her directly, but I know only the distance and the directionality.
I'm grateful to know that she's still alive, at least. Well, I'll keep an eye out, an ear to the ground, and see if I can figure out anything else. Thank you. I'll try to take the ring back.
Yeah, he just kind of, so it was in his hand palm up and he just kind of turns it over until it drops into your hand. Is there anything else?
Oh, yeah. I have this potion of this black goo. I shouldn't say potion. This vial of black goo.
They kind of look at you like, uh-huh. And
It looked neat. Do you know what it does?
is this the goo? This is the goo from the demon portal, right?
Yep.
Like as you, so you just kind of like hold it out, and
Yep.
so like as you kind of come towards him, when you got it kind of held out, you can see visibly some amount of recognition kind of just wash over his face as you get a little bit of a look of surprise leak through what is normally a pretty stoic expression, and he just kind of pulls up and says, "Stay right there with that. That is very dangerous." That is steeped in evil and demonic power. That's from the other side. Mixing with something from this side and the other side at the same time. That can do great harm. It's quite deadly to anyone on this side, and quite powerful for anyone on the other. Be careful with it, and I highly recommend you do not get any on you. I would say dispose of it, but there is no such way to do so. It could not be destroyed. Dumped out in some empty pit somewhere. But that just leaves it where someone else can find.
Okay, duly noted. And what about this one?
It's actually the vampire blood from
From the big dude, yeah.
the big dude.
You kept some of his blood?
I'm a man of science.
That's gross.
Science.
Vampires store and transfer great power through their blood. That great power comes at a cost. It could grant strength, perhaps even life force.
Izzy looks really grossed out right now.
For those that are most powerful, it can even portray knowledge. But the blood has a way of carrying with it influence, and that is its cost.
She's just shaking her head now, like, nope, nope, nope.
Don't want to do it.
If the need is dire, it could be useful, but so could its consequences.
You should destroy that.
That could be destroyed.
I'm going to combine it with things. See what it does.
I
Thanks.
really, really wish you wouldn't.
Okay, when you find yourself a genie, you can wish that to happen then.
I'm watching this conversation intently, but saying nothing.
This is just lunacy.
I can make no demands or commands on anyone wishing to seek knowledge. I can only throw caution.
Thinking in the back of my head, I know this genie. I know a genie.
Hypothetically, how would one destroy that safely? You burn it?
Fire would do the trick, but not a regular fire. It would require one quite intense. That or any form of radiant energy. Do any others offer a question?
Tigra had another question but forgot it because she got distracted by the vampire blood.
I have a quick. Ew.
I have given knowledge. I have given questions. And to complete the usual trifecta, I offer a gift. You can see that he starts to pull out this very shining sword from its scabbard, and with it he kind of draws a large circle on the ground around him, and then sticks the sword directly in the middle, and you can see radiant energy and like crackling bits of electricity run along the ground from the point of impact of the sword out to the outer edge. And then it begins to fill in with arcane runes and harden as what is sand becomes stone. And then the stone itself gets implanted with runes over the top of it.
Great. Excalibur.
Dibs.
Yeah, I think there's going to be some sort of trial here.
pulls out the sword and resheathes it.
Oh.
And then opens up his hand, gauntleted hand, palm up again, and from it, a small round stone materializes into his hand, and on it is an arcane rune exactly like the one in the center of the circle. I offer this gift to you all. This is a portal stone tied to this very spot. If you channel the power of a spell of at least intermediate strength into this stone, it will activate and open a portal to this spot. It can only do so every few days, but perhaps it'll give you at least an edge when needed. He's just got it held out in front of him.
I'm about.
I suppose I reach out and take it.
I'll say I don't have intermediate levels of power there.
I won't hold that against you.
Hit it with lightning whip.
From a game mechanic standpoint, intermediate would be 4th or higher level spell.
That was way out of my grasp.
That's in case of emergency only.
Yeah.
Question. Regarding that, then, could my burning hands cast at 4th level trigger it?
That's a good question. I think because it's a spell-like ability instead of a spell. I'm thinking no, because it's a spell-like ability instead of an actual spell itself.
Okay.
I remembered a question.
Okay.
The last time we went through the barrier, we were told there were some strange effects that happened to us. Do you know anything that we should expect going back through it? I think Bijou's the only one now who hasn't been through the barrier.
Her eyes get really big, thinking about going through the barrier.
The prophecy does not allude to specifics in this case. There were elements of the prophecy to look out for. Typically, you should be less inclined to react in such a way entering the barrier. It's only when the direction is outward that these effects should be present. As to their specifics, I don't have an answer for you there.
Izzy will kind of clap her hand on Bijou's back and be like, "Well, at least you won't have to worry about it until the way back."
She doesn't relax at all. Magister, is Taft still okay?
I would see no reason for any concern beyond its normal squabbles. The troubles before us seem to be at least concentrated in the west, whether that be the Badlands or Tenaria, or the islands beyond. For now.
Do you know anything of what has happened since we left Tenaria? In that city?
You mean the hostilities that arose?
Izzy just nods.
Vampire's power is a very tough strain on the emotions that seems to have bubbled forth. Although I think that people are beginning to see the light. Unfortunately for some, a little too late. But for most, I think they'll be fine with time. As long as no other factors large roving hordes of undead, or whatever lies beyond this barrier that's trying to get out.
And what of our friends, our mutual acquaintances, apparently, that we met when we were there? Do you know what became of them? Karth and Morn?
They continue their search for their other friends. They're getting rather close to one. Their other friend has been a guest of mine for some time. He's very good at what he does, but even his pompousness wears on my nerves.
Izzy's just like trying to rack her brain, remembering the little minifigures that Karth tried to show us. Is that the one with the fluffy hair?
You don't see him roll his eyes.
She just grins. I'm glad to know they're safe. So far.
The last one they seek, I myself cannot see. Which is at least a point of worry.
Maybe they're in the Badlands?
It's possible. And he kind of looks over at Limo. Just kind of gestures with his hand. And there are many possibilities at hand. Certain places I cannot see into. Certain things prevent that sight. So it could mean nothing.
Is there anything else we should know before we go back across the barrier?
In regards to
what we might face and what we might be looking for.
of that, the prophecy does not say. At least, it's never been very clear directly. Only its illusions and the things that it hints at. There's a great darkness there, as you're well aware. And there are powers at play much more drastic than I had originally assumed. Did not anticipate their willingness to make such a risk and incurring the wrath of those stronger than us.
And what does this mean for the balance? Are we racing against the clock at this point?
To some degree, yes. I mean, if we can keep the balance from shifting in great strokes back and forth, that disturbance will draw them sooner. Who knows what their patience is now? If we can turn off that power and I return home, and the balance is much more steady, even if conflict is still pitched, that would be sufficient to stall for now.
Well, unless you guys have any other questions, maybe we should let him go repair that lodestone.
We have a quest to get started.
Very well, if that is all. Good luck.
You too.
And as he says good luck, you could see, like, it almost looks like he's folding in on himself. Not just like bending at the waist, folding in, but actually, like, from a dimensional standpoint, like it was a piece of paper, and then the piece of paper is being folded in on itself. And poof, it disappears.
You know, as much as I don't like the portals, they're much less unsettling than that was.
A little bit
Sure.
of reality.
Sure, the first time we use our Hearthstone there is going to be interesting.
Izzy kind of side-eyes it.
When he disappears, the image of the valley that y'all were in fades, and everything goes back to normal, and the portal stone is still right underneath where he was in relation to you, but it's in the middle of the garrison.
Izzy looks around. Did any of like the civilians notice that? Like, did they come into the valley with us?
No, it was all you noticed was the your group and him were all the ones with you when you were there, at least that you could see.
So everybody else is just kind of going about their business right now, like nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
The power of illusion.
Mm-hmm.
As far as anybody else was concerned, you just stood there kind of in an arc talking to him. They didn't even see like all the theatrics of the portal stone or any of that stuff happening below. They just it wasn't there. Then it was there. What is that?
I guess we should maybe find somebody to tell them what's up with the rune that's now in the middle of their building.
It's
Let
in
them
the
know.
it's in the courtyard.
Yeah. Like, let them know not to, like,
Set
try
stuff
to.
on it, or
Yeah. Because, I mean, what happens if we try to come back and there's, like, a barrel in the middle of where we're supposed to be materializing? I can't imagine that would be good.
doesn't seem like that goes well.
Yeah, Izzy's gonna go tell somebody about that. Keep it clear. Okay.
So right now, like looking at things, so a lot of the eastern garrisons of the Phalanx are actually out in the middle of the Badlands. A lot of the Tenarian barracks are all now collapsing on that, keeping their bare bones, and then everybody else is collapsing on the one where the lodestone was destroyed. The ones on the east actually were out searching for Lumos people. A good number of them.
Right.
Good
So
luck.
it's the afternoon right now, right?
Yeah.
Or
It was
evening?
mid afternoon.
Okay. So is there like a quartermaster or somebody in the garrison? Izzy's gonna go find that person and offload some stuff.
Okay. Offload. What are we
Before,
offload?
well, like, there's not gonna be any stores in the Badlands, obviously. So she's got a few, like, expensive pretty things that she's just going to either sell to him or give to him to sell at some other point and pay her back. That sort of thing.
Okay.
Maybe trade him for some potions or something. Whatever he's or she's got that they think they can spare until the other group gets back with some more supplies.
And with Steam being the captain in charge of the garrison, it's a bit of a precarious. I don't know what, and them to hand over all their money and potions.
Yeah, that seems kind of like a bad idea, though.
I don't think he's going to do that.
No, that. No.
I would like to see if there's any way I can convert 500 of my gold into diamonds for some reagents.
This fort needs a gopher.
Yeah, they are sending some citizens on a supply run. All right, we need. It seems somewhat unlikely they've got diamonds on hand, but roll a d100. Let's just see what we get.
So it's a 20 and do 5. How do I do the D100?
You right click on the 10 and then use the percentage.
No, they don't have diamonds.
There are cubic zirconia.
No. No,
So
but they, especially since they're leaving to go acquire some, They could put that on their purchase order, so to speak, to make sure they have some when you get back.
Yeah, otherwise some of my spells are worthless.
I hand over the fancy silverware. I'm gonna tell him, like, you may want to, like, take those and melt them down to coat some swords with. I've heard those are good against undead or werewolves or something. Anyway, might be good.
Undead werewolves.
Or that.
Mm-hmm.
Holy silver water.
Half vampire, half lichen. Stronger than both.
Full badass. Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah, so especially all this stuff that's quite valuable, they'd be willing to take all of this. Let's see what the total value is. I bet they've got about $2,000 in gold just in the treasury. Plan B potion.
Yeah.
Oh god.
Also, just give him some of my empty bottles because I don't need 13 of these.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I'll give him 7 of them.
So he'll take all this stuff, and then that way he's pretty sure that he could probably get actual face value or really close to it throughout the different trade hubs that they've got, and so they'll use some of that. They'll take their gold, they'll liquidate it, get you some gold more than you would probably be able to get from just your regular shop goer, but also still leave them room for some marginal gains to use to fund the new recruits and workers and stuff that
Yeah, perfect.
Steen is calling for.
There's 2 GP categories
That's
there.
weird. Yeah.
The first one is for a gajillion. All right. We are filthy rich.
I mean, I'm probably gonna take like 300 of that just for myself, and then take the rest to everybody and be like, "Look what I got! He had this much to give me for all the stuff that I just gave him."
Well, I mean, I have some stuff to sell too, like stuff that will actually fetch us real money. Sorry, I was away getting my toast.
Toast.
So go ahead and do your 300 if that's what you're doing, Izzy, and then you can.
Okay.
Yeah, isn't gold supposed to be capitalized?
Yeah, so some item in there
Had G instead of G.
had G instead of GP, so I don't know.
It was the fancy silverware.
Oh, sorry.
Ah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had to.
Hacks.
So.
Hacks.
And then if you'd like to bluff your particular elements of deception. Okay.
She's always drunk, so we don't know whether to believe her ever or not. So
That's not actually accurate. Izzy hasn't started drinking heavily until after the vampire.
you don't have to drink heavily to remain consistently buzzed. Just sip here and
I
there.
mean, I don't know if you would have like an insight check to actually realize that or not, but
I'm pretty confident that there's no one hitting 31 on their insight. So we'll just. Everybody is super excited to get 181 gold pieces.
Yes, 18.
Yeah, about the things I could donate to the full.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, things that are worth actual money.
oh,
Yeah.
those would actually be good for the garrison though too.
Well, I mean, one soldier having a +1 longsword isn't gonna.
Well, your lieutenant or captain or whoever is watching the garrison while we're away could probably use it. Be your morale thing, maybe.
The sergeant.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
sergeant.
With the lieutenant is gone. Now the sergeant actually would be in charge if Steen leaves.
I know exactly nothing about military ranks, so. And that is both in character and out of character.
Well, there's Lieutenant Dan, and then there's Sergeant. I'm going to take over when Lieutenant Dan shits himself.
Sergeant Pepper.
Sergeant Pepper and Lieutenant Dan.
In their Lonely Hearts Club.
And Steen's last name is now Crunch. But sorry about that. Yeah, I mean we could definitely give the longsword to one of them, but the dragon scale mail, I believe the money we would get from that could really spread a lot more things than just one guy who can be resistant against dragon breath.
Get them to sell it. Try to get their high vendor costs so that they can then start affording to pay people and do things.
Pay people, get basic weapons and stuff.
Yeah, so
maybe a couple diamonds.
This is your stronghold specifically, so
Add to the coffers.
yeah. So I mean, if you want to sell it to the give it to the stronghold for the stronghold funds, we can do that. We need to start perhaps tracking stronghold funds. Or maybe stronghold inventory, just like how I did on the other campaign with the forge or the bag of holding or whatever. Probably someone needs to make a stronghold.
Let me just also make a note too.
Yeah, it'd just be easier with the character because then you have an actual inventory because you can drag things to it.
Okay.
But yeah, they'd be happy to do that.
There you go. If that's all we got for him, I will release.
So as of now, the stronghold has 2,946 gold pieces plus the value of those two things once they sell them. I'm including already the gem prices and stuff because I've already done that. I haven't done what those will sell. Plus, yeah, the gem prices plus what they had. I'll look at. We'll actually look at how much that costs per week to maintain the stronghold. Most of that will be subsidized through the phalanx in the short term. Okay. Very well then. So the magistrate's come and gone. We've started setting up a plan for the stronghold itself. Gonna get it reinforced, resupplied, worked on, beef up its defenses, all that kind of good stuff. What's next?
I was going to point north. And sort of lean north. And then take a couple steps north. Clap his hands and then point north. Clear his throat, clap his hands, point north.
I think you're right, Lumo.
You can use your words.
Is this the dance of your people?
I just want to dance.
Yeah, I'm ready to head out.
Talk to my sergeants and make sure they have everything they need.
Literally willing to hold down the fort until you return. Alright, well, if we're all ready to go north, then let's go north.
Let's do
Onward
it.
and upward.
Alright, why don't we do so with after a brief message from these sponsors. It is 4 o'clock, so we're 2 hours on the dot in. Actually, spent more time doing that stuff than I expected, which is pretty cool. Usually talking bits go by real fast, and so I'm not very good on the timing of those. This worked out great. So why don't we
Yeah, that was good.
Why don't we take let's call it 20. Go check on the ribs out on the smoker.
Nice.
And then I'll see you back here in a bit, and then we'll head into the Badlands.
Into the Badlands.
It is